Study Session 6, Population and Unemployment. Introduction. In this study session, we will discuss the issue of population as an important element in the growth process of an economy. We will examine the major components of population dynamism, namely birth rate, death rate, and net population. We will also examine unemployment as a social malaise and its implications for the process of growth. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Point out conceptual issues in population and unemployment. 2. Distinguish between equilibrium and disequilibrium unemployment. 3. Explain population theories. 4. List the consequences of unemployment. Population. Population can literally be defined as the totality of the people living in a country. The problem of increasing population remains a major issue every economy has to contend with the world over. The rate of population increase is quantitatively measured as a percentage yearly net increase or decrease, in which case it is negative, in population size due to natural increase and net international migration. Natural increase simply means the excess of birth over death, or in more technical terms, the difference between fertility and mortality. The difference between developing and developed nations in terms of rates of population growth can simply be explained by noting that birth rates in developing countries are generally much higher than in the developed country. Also, death rates in the less developed nations are also higher. The study of population is important because it involves people and their welfare. The people is an important component and a vital part of the economic system. They are the suppliers of labor, consumers who are the ultimate beneficiaries of the product of development. These are the reasons why it is desirable to know the number of people in geographical area, what their ages are, how many are male and female, where they live, what jobs they are doing, and so on. These are parts of the reasons why population censuses or head counts are conducted at regular intervals. Factors affecting the population of a country. The population of any given country is usually affected by the following factors: A. Birth rate. B. Death rate. C. Migration. Birth rate constitutes a plus on the rate of population growth. The birth rate is measured as a number of babies born or births per thousand people. Death rate represents a negative on the population because it represents the number of people dying per thousand. Migration could either be a plus or a minus. It constitutes a surplus where there is a movement into the country, and it is a minus when there is a movement outside the country. All these phenomena have implications for a country's economic progress and development, either in the short run or the long run. Factors affecting birth rate: age of marriage, age distribution of the population, social attitude towards children, marriage structure, economic issues or level of economic development. Factors affecting death rate: availability of medical facilities, age distribution of the population, natural disaster. Factors affecting migration: biological factors such as sex and age education, economic and urban attractions, geographical and physical consideration. Important concept of population. Optimum population. This is the population size which, with existing resources, institutional conditions and technology, would give rise to the maximum output or highest standard of living. Overpopulation. These occur in a situation where the number of people in a country exceed the optimum population. Underpopulation. This refers to the population size which is less than the optimum. The problem is that of inadequate human resources to optimally harness or utilize the available economic resources. Unemployment. Unemployment is a situation in which those of working age are without work. They are available for work at current wage rates but are not productively engaged. It is the most serious economic danger that a worker may face in any society. Causes of unemployment. The causes of unemployment fall into two broad categories: equilibrium unemployment and disequilibrium unemployment. Equilibrium or natural unemployment. This is the difference between those who would like employment at the current wage rate and those willing and able to take a job. This is possible even when there is no general disequilibrium in the economy at the current wage levels. Even when there are as many job vacancies as people unemployed, there will still be some unemployment. The problem here is one of mismatching. There are excess demand for labor in some markets and excess supply in others. For example, there may be vacancies for computer technicians and unemployment in the steel industry, but unemployed steel workers cannot immediately become computer technicians. There are various types of equilibrium unemployment, which include 1. Frictional unemployment, 2. Structural unemployment, and 3. Seasonal unemployment. Frictional unemployment is a type of unemployment that occurs as a result of imperfect information in the labor market. It often takes time for a worker or for workers to find jobs, and in the meantime, they are unemployed. Structural unemployment arises from change in the pattern of demand or supply in the economy. People made redundant in one part of the economy cannot immediately take up jobs in other parts. Seasonal unemployment. This is an unemployment which is associated with industries or regions where the demand for labor is very low at certain times of the year. Disequilibrium unemployment. This is unemployment resulting from real wages in the economy being above the equilibrium level. There are 3 possible reasons that could make the actual average wage rate to be above the market equilibrium wage rate. These are: 1. The wage rate is pushed up above the equilibrium. 2. There's a fall in aggregate demand for labor with no corresponding fall in the wage rate. And 3. There is an increase in the aggregate supply of labor with no corresponding fall in the wage rate. Each of these 3 causes gives rise to a distinct type of disequilibrium unemployment. 1. Real wage or classical unemployment. 2. Demand deficiency or cyclical unemployment. 3. Growth in labor supply. Real wage or classical unemployment. This type of disequilibrium unemployment caused by real wages being driven up above the market clearing level. Demand deficiency or cyclical unemployment is caused by a fall in aggregate demand with no corresponding fall in wage rate. Growth in labor supply. If labor supply rises, with no corresponding increase in the demand for labor, the equilibrium real wage rate will fall. If the real wage rate is sticky downward, disequilibrium unemployment will occur. Theories of population. The Malthusian theory of population. An Englishman, Reverend Thomas Malthus, put forward a theory of the relationship between population growth and economic development. Drawing on the concept of diminishing return, he postulated a universal tendency for the population of a country to grow at a geometric rate if it is not checked by dwindling food supplies. Due to diminishing returns to the fixed factor, that is, land, supplies could expand only at a roughly arithmetic rate. The reason is that since land is a fixed factor input, the marginal contribution to food production would eventually decline. He therefore contended that the only way to avoid this situation of chronic low levels of living or absolute poverty was for people to engage in moral restraint. Criticism of the Malthusian model. Malthusian model is criticized on a number of simplistic assumptions and hypotheses that do not stand the test of empirical verification. 1. Its model does not take adequate account of the role and the impact of technological progress. 2. The model is based on a macro relationship between population growth and levels of per capita income that does not stand up to empirical verification. 3. It is based on wrong variable of per capita income as a key determinant of population growth rate. The demographic transition. This model attempts to explain why all contemporary developed nations have more or less passed through the same three stages of modern population history. In the first stage, these countries had stable or very slow growing population resulting from a combination of high birth rate and almost equal high death rate. In the second stage, there was a transition from stable to slow growing population, first to rapidly increasing numbers and then to declining rates. This was as a result of better public health methods, healthier people, higher income, and other improvements. In other words, all the foregoing led to a marked reduction in mortality rate that gradually raised life expectancy. In the final stage, forces and influences of modernization and development caused the beginning of a decline in fertility, eventually falling birth rates, conversed with low death rates, leaving little or no population growth. Negative consequences of population growth. 1. Economic growth. Population growth lowers per capita income growth in most less developed countries. 2. Poverty and inequality. An increasing large family size, for example, perpetuates poverty and exacerbates inequality. 3. Education. It lowers most times the opportunities of parents to educate all their children. 4. High population growth poses some hazards to mothers' health. For example, closely spaced children have been shown to reduce birth weight and increase child mortality rate. 5. Food. Feeding the world's population is becoming more difficult due to rapid population growth. 6. Environment. Population growth contributes to environmental degradation in the form of forest encroachment, deforestation, fuel wood depletion. 7. International migration. High and rising increase in international migration, either legally or illegally, has been attributed to developing countries' population growth. Summary. In this study session, our analysis was on population, the totality of people living within a country. Population is affected by three major phenomena, namely birth rate, death rate, and net migration. We went further to review the impact of unemployment in relation to population growth. This is the end of study session 6. Thanks for listening.